Good morning, everybody. Man, we're so glad all of you are able to join us this morning for our recruiting clinic. But anyway, welcome. And not only our old timers, but any new people. We'll talk more about that in a second. But hey, first of all, I want to thank the Lord for everything He has done for us, and we give Him all the glory. And hope that doesn't offend anybody, but that's just the way it is with me. But and I know so many of you feel the same way. Also, happy Mother's Day for any of our mothers that are out there, and we appreciate you so much. And you know, partnership. I'll tell you what. Let me tell you one thing. Our company would not be the same without partnership. A husband and wife, two heads are better than one, and husband and wife loving each other, putting their heads together and saying, what can we do to build our little family company, our company within a company? And but speaking of that, I mean, you know, thinking about strong leaders in our organization, our hierarchy, and I think when I say strong leaders, you know, and with a builder's mindset, we're going to talk a good bit about that today. But we've got so many leaders that are emerging. I know just the last couple of weeks, a couple of weeks ago, I was on did a Zoom for Michael Weaver, part of my brother's hierarchy. And Michael and his team, man, they're blowing and going. And then last weekend, Jill and I were down on the Gulf Coast with Kelly Case and his team. Of course, they're on the Gulf Coast. I mean, well, Kelly's in Houston. But Houston and had all of his VPs came together. They came together, and we just had an incredible visit with them down on the Gulf Coast last weekend. I think Jill will talk more about what they did here in a few minutes. But guys, let me tell you, I really feel like where we are right now is we're entering, and I began to see this. I actually started seeing it in Hawaii on the company trip, that I believe we are entering a new era as a company. And I think the convention is going to be kind of like liftoff. And I know we've got a lot of leaders. I mean, that are hopefully we're all starting to run now. So when we get out of the convention, that we literally tear the doors off the place, leaving and going home to build. But you know, when I think back, there was a FAC, a Field Advisory Council call this week, and with Lynn Williams, and well, actually the RVP locker room too, the RVP locker room this week, and just listening to everything that is coming down the pipe for us to go build, you know, everything from the next generation product that's coming out, you know, the things that they're doing, like on the reputation side of the business, you know, with the Google and everything, and rating, have it where your office can be rated, you know, with the star system. You know, matter of fact, you know, Primerica now, our star rating is 4.9, right? I mean, that's almost Rich Carlton level, right? 4.9, so 5-star. So. But I just think those kind of things. I was noticing I know all of you have seen this, but the new Forbes, 2 years in a row, one of the top companies for diversity. And man, what an incredible thing! What an incredible statement that is, because you know we've always said that diversity gives us our strength, right? And so we celebrate the diversity of our company, and so that's incredible. You know, the other thing, of course, speaking about the convention that's coming up the end of June, the end of next month. That's amazing. But and it'll be what, 3 years since we were all together, and you know, we're going to have our hierarchy breakout that Thursday night. We're excited about that. We're actually really planning on that now. But, you know, thinking about the company and the convention, hopefully every RVP, right, and their partner right, will be there. But man, look, if you're in this business, I mean, it is an open door invitation for you to come to Atlanta and be part of this. I mean, you understand the company, they aren't doing that for just to have something to do, because they're, man, that the company is spending millions and millions of dollars, and that they're putting that on for all of our benefit, right? Not only our clients, the home office team, but the field is primarily about us, the field. And so, man, to me, that is an opportunity for us to huddle up and take our business to the next level. And it's one thing I used to tell people a lot, that, if you win here, right? I mean, you actually, and by the way, I'm going to talk to you more in a second about this clinic that I'm calling a recruiting clinic, maybe building clinic. I'm going to talk to you about the goals. This is just the first session of these, and so we'll talk more about that in a minute. But I really want this to be an informal kind of conversation, except it's kind of one-sided conversation. It's just me talking, right? Jill and I talking, but I really want this to be informal and just kind of a locker room. I mean, my goal is not to recruit anybody into the company or whatever. I mean, to me, though, the right kind of person sees something like this. This is behind the closed door, right? I mean, if there is a behind the closed door, I guess this would be one of those moments. But the thing about it, we just want to be transparent. I think the right kind of person, even a new person, they love that. They just want to hear how it is, right? They just want to hear the truth and what it's really like. But one of the things that I believe is that, look, if you go to the convention, I mean, you aren't doing the company any big favor, right? Okay, because you understand that, you'll make a lot more money off Primerica than they'll ever make off you. See, Primerica, they make a little slither of what off our company, within a company that we built, right? But I've made a lot more off Primerica than they will ever earn off of me. And so what I have to understand, what you have to understand, right, is if you win here, who's the biggest winner? You are. So if you're the biggest winner, who should take your business more seriously than anybody else? You, me, right? And so, man, listen, hey, I don't know what you got to do. Whatever you got to do, get with your RVP, get with me, whatever. Man, we need everybody. To me, this is an opportunity to surge. And as a matter of fact, I've got my notes here, right? But I know I'm already going to get all out of whack here. So, but I'm just going to go with it. And then if I come across something I've already said, then I'll just flip it to the side. But anyway, I just think that this is an opportunity for us to go out there and run. And I've got a special feeling. I feel like this is a new era. I saw it in Hawaii. Okay. I told Jill, I left Hawaii. I said, look, and I won't have time to go into the details, but we had a heck of a time getting there. We were only there 3 nights, the way our flights ended up, missing the flight, all that stuff. And, but we went, and at the end of the trip, I told Jill, I said one word. I said, man, this was confirmation. This was confirmation that, man, we are, the company's going into a new era. But you know what? Our hierarchy is going into a new area. And really, that's what today's about. Today is really a special day. On the calendar, it may not be that special other than tomorrow's Mother's Day, right? But from a leadership standpoint, I just believe here's what I'll go ahead and announce it. We're starting a movement in our hierarchy, right? That we're going to shift gears on the building side of the company, and we're going to kind of start over. Okay, so this is kind of a reset, in a sense, that we're going to identify builders, and we're gonna build hierarchies. We're gonna build leaders of leaders. That's what we're gonna focus on. Really, the rest of our career, as far as Jill and myself. So we're excited about that, and I think it's gonna be good. The recruiting clinic. I said this won't just be a one and done session, because you know what? Let me tell you, and I, of course, I've been here for decades now, right? And if there's one thing I know, right, I know recruiting, okay? I know recruiting and building. I probably have been as big a student as anybody in the company in my 43 years this October on recruiting and building and how you do that. And so I've done it, okay? And, we've got one of the great hierarchies in the company, I believe. I believe we have one of the strongest leadership teams in the company, as far as and it's not me, it's our leaders. It's our, what we have focused on is raising up leaders, broad-based leadership. And we just want to take that to the next level. And so I don't want to just come in here and talk about how to do a recruiting interview. I really want to drill down and really go into some details, and really it's probably going to take me 3 sessions like this to do what we want to do, because I do want to get into everything from how to do an interview. Recruiting is a sales process, and the process of that, and following up on people, and building, and expanding your market. I want to get into all that. Steam, how to steam, how to expand into different markets. How to build multiple locations. I want to get into all that. So recruiting / building clinic. And so, like I said, this will be the first of, I think, probably 3 sessions. We'll do probably the next one in about 3 weeks, but I'll get it out in advance. So 3 to 4 weeks, we'll do another one of these. And so anyway, hey, but before, as we kick this off, for the newer people, right, that I don't know that well, or you don't know of me that well, just real quick, kind of a Cliff Note version. My background: I'm originally from Laurel, Mississippi. Laurel's got its own TV show now called Hometown, HGTV, right? And so anyway, I'm going down there today. Jill and I are going down this afternoon to see my mom and spend the night with her. But yeah, man, Laurel's just booming right now, with that little TV show that's happened down there. But actually, I can't claim Laurel. I'm from Tucker's Crossing, in between Glade and Ovette, outside of Laurel. So that's where we were born and raised. Oldest son of 5 kids. Started to college when I was 18, or actually 17. I graduated at 17, right? And but by the time I was 18, I'd already dropped out of college. Okay, I had no idea what I wanted to do. So anyway, I was working bridge construction in Columbia. My dad had got me a job in Columbia, Mississippi. He was running the superintendent of Columbia Training School for juvenile delinquents. We lived on campus. And I tell people that my dad, was over the juvenile delinquent center, but then he raised 5 juvenile delinquents. No, I'm kidding. All 5 kids are great. But anyway, I was working bridge construction one day, and all of a sudden, this was right after the Vietnam deal. So the draft had ended, the volunteer army had just started up, and all of a sudden, I'm holding a hammer on a February morning, cold. The sun had just was coming up, and I hated bridge construction. Well, first of all, I hate construction, period. I don't like being outside when it's hot or cold, right? I love air conditioners, right? And heat, okay? So, but anyway, I was standing there holding a hammer at 18, and all of a sudden, the Lord I was not really walking with the Lord. This was like 1974, right? Grand Funk Railroad, all that stuff. Okay. So anyway, but all of a sudden something told me I was a Christian. I did that when I was 12, but all of a sudden I was not thinking about it, holding the hammer, and all of a sudden something said, go join the Army. And I looked at my Nova SS at the end of the bridge, and I didn't say anything to anybody. My boss, I just laid down my hammer, walked off the end of the bridge, got my car, went, and I said, well, how do you join the Army? I stopped at a convenience store. They said there's a place downtown. I went in, joined for 3 years, went home and told mom and dad, ended up a military policeman for 3 years in the Army. My family, my parents freaked out over that, but they were so excited after I did it, but I didn't give them any notice. But anyway, so I'd gotten out of the Army, and ended up at this time, I was at Southern Miss. Jill and I had gotten married in college. I was managing a health club full-time, going to college full-time. Jill and I had been married about 9 months. And a buddy of mine, Don Lindsay, called me up, and he knew that I was looking around for what I was going to do after school. And he came over, and he lived here in Jackson. Laurel's about an hour and a half south. He said, I'm going to be in Laurel this weekend. We'll come by and talk to you. And so Jill cooked dinner. Y'all have heard the story if you've been around. She cooked hamburger helper. We did a lot of that, when we were that first newlyweds. But then, so anyway, after dinner, we got around in our little den in our log cabin that was my dad's, and I didn't pay any rent on. I was just trying to get through school. He never asked for any rent. I never offered him any. So it's one thing we just really never talked about. But anyway, but as Don was talking to me about, and he was brand new. He had been in maybe a month and a half, 2 months. And I had to loan him a legal pad. And so we sat there, and he was trying to explain to me what this company was about, or, the concepts. And, at the end of 2 hours, we talked for about 2 hours. And at the end of 2 hours, I told Don, I said, man, is there any way you can get me on? He was not that good at it, but explaining it. But my attitude was like, take me to your leader. There's got to be somebody above you that knows more than you know about this. So anyway, that's how it happened. Went to my fast start school the next weekend. Art Williams was there. I got excited, came home, put in my application, and then my friend called me back after I put in my application, said, David, the company's turned you down. You're too far from Jackson. When someone moves to Laurel to open an office, we'll have them call you, right? And man, that just broke my heart. It just broke my heart. I'd spent 2 days listening to Art Williams, and then all of a sudden to have it taken away. And do you understand though, folks? And there's some points I want to drill down on as I talk about stuff like this. That was the best thing that ever happened, was when this company turned me down and said, no, we know you're excited, but we can't hire you. And my friend said, David, what they told me in Jackson was, he said, listen, they told me to tell you that when someone moves to Laurel to open an office, they will have them call you. And I told my friend, I said, well, look, man, there ain't nobody moving to Laurel, right? People are leaving Laurel, Jones County, right? So, I said, man, just if I could just have a shot at it. And something told me, so anyway, I hung up, I was depressed. And something told me to call information in Hattiesburg, and an office had just opened the week before. And so I walked in and told them, I called them, I said, listen, I want to come in. And, but you know what that did? That gave me an appreciation that once they gave me a chance, because I think a lot of people come into business now and they kind of like, well, I'll give it a try and all that stuff. Man, to me, I took ownership of it because I wanted my own business. The thought of corporate America nauseated, literally nauseated me. The thought of a company job, it just nauseated me. And I just, maybe I didn't have the confidence for it. I didn't feel like maybe I could climb the corporate ladder or whatever, but I wanted my own business. And you know what I did though? When the company gave me a shot, because Hattiesburg was only 30 minutes from Laurel, so I could drive back and forth. Once I got it going, my 4th month went full time, right? And you know why I took ownership? Because of this right here. I wanted this right here. You can see this. I wanted this. I wanted my key to my little company on my key ring, right? And man, I wanted to build my own dream instead of somebody else's. So I took ownership, opened my first office as a district leader after 4 months in the business. And there's a message there too, that man, you got to take ownership and you got to you got to think big. I'll talk more about that in a second. As a matter of fact, let me, well, no, I'll wait. I'll put that off. Hang on. So I'm going to try to stay on track here. So today, what we're going to do, we're going to kind of talk about some foundational keys to recruiting and building. And today is going to really be kind of becoming. Let me tell you something. You can go out and go hire 100 people, right? But you know what? Until you got to become a copy worth duplicating. Okay, you got to become a copy worth duplicating, and so that's the key. So I'm going to kind of have a bend toward that today. Okay, and so we're going to talk about some recruiting. I mean, it's all about recruiting and building, but anyway. But let me tell you. What happens is personal example creates environment, right? If you want to create environment, a personal example creates environment. And then environment creates a vacuum that pulls up other leaders, okay? And so, people do what people see, okay? And, one of the things that in thinking about recruiting, we've got our promotion guidelines. And I think a lot of times, we just tell people, hey, look, here's our guidelines. If you go do this, 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 and this, and we kind of tell it. We don't really sell it, right? And so to me, this is just unbelievable that we have preset promotion guidelines, right? That you can go out and we can tell a person day one what they have to do to become a head coach, a vice president with Primerica. And one of the things that I tell people, and this is what I've told people for decades in my recruiting interview, right? I say, listen, we've got preset promotion guidelines, no glass ceiling, no politics, okay? Now there's 2 sides to our company. There's a marketing side, and then there's a leadership side, right? The marketing side, Joe, is where you would come in, you'd get licensed to represent our company to the consumer, and somebody can come in and they can do that, and they can go out and represent the company to consumer, and all the different services that we offer that they're legally able to represent. Whether it's now, of course, look at all the things, right? Everything from, we broker income protection, right? We term insurance. We have all types of investments, unbelievable investments. And our investment partners, it's incredible, right? Look at these companies and all. Now we're going to get into probably next session an exact recruiting interview and how you, the whole process of, coming up with a name, setting the appointment, going through the interview and all that. I'm just kind of hitting a few different things that there's going to be some repetition over these next sessions, but I'm saying we've got to be able to explain to people, okay, so, the marketing side is one side of the company, It's where you represent the company to consumers and all the things that we offer, okay? And you work your own hours, your own boss, no quotas. You can do it on the side. You can come in full time, whatever you want to do. But the good thing is it's professional. It's not some nickel or dime type business, okay? And you can go out there and do as much of it as you want to do. Now, the leadership side, really, that's really one of the keys. See, what we did, because Joe, we're a growth company. We're a growth company. And so we need to open more locations. Okay. We've got about 6,000 locations right now in North America, but we've only got 3% of the market, right? You know, our goal is to get over 10% of the market. I believe we can get well more than 10, right? But we're going to have to get after it to do that. And so the thing about it is, we've got to grow leadership. And what we do, our company made a commitment years ago. We want to have no politics. We want to have preset promotion guidelines, right? We wanted to build from within the company. So we don't, we aren't going to take somebody from the outside and put them over our people, right? From a leadership standpoint, where they haven't gone out and built it, okay? From a field standpoint. So the leadership side, okay, we've got to have people. So what we did, and the guidelines have changed, Joe, over the years, okay? But on the leadership side, we've got to have people that can do two different things. Number one, okay, that they can develop a client, okay? But number two, that they're able to attract good quality people to our company, right? So they've got to be able to recruit. They've got to be able to develop a client, attract good quality people to the company, and then when the good people come in, what have they got to do? They've got to be able to teach them how to do what we do. So our company came up with some guidelines, okay? And as a matter of fact, this first guideline, to me, one of the key positions in our company is a district leader. A district leader, okay? I mean, they observe 3 clients. I'm just simplifying. I'm simplifying this, okay? Basically, bottom line is they go out and we bring them in, we get them licensed, all that. But then they go with a trainer and they see at least three clients do business with us, right? And then the other thing, during that process, if they know anybody just like them that needs extra income or looking for career change, I mean, folks, do you understand how big the recruiting market is, right? I mean, but between people that need extra income, people that want their own business, would like to have their own business, or don't like what they're doing. Well, I mean, what percentage is that? It's got to be 90% of everybody in North America either needs extra income, they don't like what they're doing, right? Or would like to own their own company. I mean, my gosh, the recruiting market is so huge. And now, through the great resignation, right? Through the pandemic, it's amazing. All these companies are wanting people to come back to work. They don't want to come back to work, right? They don't want to go back into the office. Do you understand that lines up perfectly for who we are, and we're perfectly positioned to take advantage of that. But anyway, so what we do is we have it to where a person can go out, we bring them 3 people in the business part-time. We expose them to the leadership side of the company, right? And the client side of the company. And then we give them a district contract. Our goal is to have them a district contract by the time they get licensed, right? That way we start them off at a 50% contract instead of a 25. Of course, that's just on, we get paid different percentages on different things that we do, okay? But then, okay, our goal is to help them become and take the top position with the company, okay? Now, the top position, kind of a head coach position, is a regional vice president, okay? Regional vice president. And as a matter of fact, that's one thing that really blew me away about our guidelines. When the company, before I even joined the company, that fast start school I went to, okay? Art Williams handed us a sheet of paper that said, if you go do this, 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 and this, you can be a regional vice president, okay? And then, you know, so that just blew me away. I said, okay, they're telling me what I've got to do. If I go do this, it doesn't matter who's above me. It doesn't matter if I go do these things, then I'm going to be a head coach with the company. And then later on, not only can you become a regional vice president, then when you become a regional vice president, your job is to promote regional vice presidents if you want to. Now that really blew me away. I said, okay, wait a minute. They want me to take the top position, and then they want people, so once I become a vice president, they want me then to help somebody take my job. Well, see, at the health club that I ran, I was a manager. My other brother, Bruce, worked for me at the health club, but I couldn't sell Bruce on taking my job. He eventually did when I went full-time here. Okay, and he became the manager. But I couldn't sell him on Bruce. Come and take my job because it was mine and he wasn't going to get it, right? Okay, and so to me that just blew me away that that I could go do that. So what we want to do is we want to promote regional vice presidents. We promoted a couple of new RVPs. I think we're up to 226 or 227 in the hierarchy, and 227 in the hierarchy. But we're getting ready to go to 500, right? And we're kicking off a new movement. This is a new beginning. This is a new beginning in our hierarchy. And we're going to now. So what have you got to do to become a regional vice president? Bottom line is, okay, we're going to talk about this. You got to get to double-digit recruiting, right? You got to get to double-digit recruiting, and so double-digit recruiting is at least 10 recruits a month, right? Joining your company, right? That shows the company what? That, man, I can attract good quality people to this business, okay? And then we got to get to about 20K. I mean, to me, this is my opinion, 20K a month. I mean, that's 20 term outs a month. Your team, right? I used to do 10 a month, part-time on the side. Now, matter of fact, let me drop back and talk about two things. Are you okay over there, Jill? My young bride is sitting over here looking at me. But anyway, so two things, okay? One thing is, guys, I think that a lot of people, because I'm going to be talking about some of the things, I'm going to be talking about, I'm going way back in time, okay? And I already know what some of you, especially you younger people, are going to be thinking, okay? I'm fixing to tell you what you're thinking here in just a minute, okay? But I'm also going to tell you why you're wrong, okay? And thinking that, okay? So let me explain it. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about basically my first year and a half in the company, okay? My first 18 months. Now people said, well, David, man, that's when the earth was still cooling, right? It was so long ago. It was 43 years ago, and things are different now. Well, you know what? You're dead wrong, right? Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. I mean, still, you understand that the seed sower in the Bible, out of 4 seeds, how many of them hit fertile ground? One out of 4. You understand that hadn't changed. You know what? People say, well, I can bring on more people. I can do better. I can do, I can get more. No, you can't. No, you can't. Because you know what you can't change? You can't change human nature. Impossible. Ain't happening. The numbers are still the same. If you tell our story 8 to 10 times a week, like I did part-time, my first 18 months, well, you're a lot more than that, but I did that for decades. But anyway, if you tell your story 8 to 10 times a month, right, a week, then you're going to have 2.5 people Now you'll have more because we have more diversification. Okay. But you're going to have about 2.5 people. So if you tell our story 8 to 10 times a week, you're going to have about 10 clients a month do business with you. Okay. And if you have your antennas up on the building side, right, you'll hire 2 to 4 personal recruits a month. Those numbers were that way then, they're this way, they're still that way now, right? All these years later. So the numbers are the same. The only thing that's better, 2 things are better. Number one, our company's better, about 100 times better, right? And the market's 3 times bigger. So the market has tripled. Our company's 100 times better, right? Man, you know, what an opportunity we have right now, you know, with everything going for us that we have right now, if we go out there and do the right thing. The other thing, let me go ahead and say, is you got to think big. You got to think big. Like people say, well, you know, man, I don't know if I can do 20K. I don't know if I can get to double-digit recruiting. Well, you know what? You got to change your thinking, man. You know, you got to stretch your vision a little bit, and you got to begin to think bigger. As a matter of fact, let me tell you a quick story. The guy that trained me in the business was John Lippincott, right? John's, you know, still a friend of mine, and I love John and Susan. And as a matter of fact, my sister Susan introduced John to his wife, Susan, right? So anyway, we go way back. Well, so I had been in the business, I guess, about 4 months, maybe 3. Well, maybe 4 months. I think it was right before I went full time, 3 or 4 months. And so anyway, no, it's probably 4 or 5 months. Okay, I think I had just had gone full time with the company. So anyway, John, there was a fast start school up here in Jackson. So I was in Laurel. So I rode with John. John lived in Hattiesburg. So I rode with John, and we rode up together to the school. And then on the way back home, Mike Tuttle was a guest speaker, okay, at the event. And Mike Tuttle was just blowing and going out in Dallas, Texas, and just, I mean, he was just killing it, okay. And so anyway, and they invited me because I had really started to get some stuff going. They invited me to the managers meeting. So Mike did a managers meeting. And so it was about a 2-hour meeting in there with Mike Tuttle. And Mike Tuttle was like unleashed. Man, he was like, man, here's what you got to do to build it, da, 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 da. Man, he was one of the top in the company and all this. And so, man, I was like, I mean, sparks were flying off of me at the end of that event. And so on the way home, John, we're coming south on Highway 49. And I told John, I said, John, now he was my upline, right? I was John's replacement, okay? And I said, John, let me tell you something, man. Let me tell you, we can be as big as Mike Tuttle, okay? We can be as big as Mike Tuttle. And you know what John told me? He said, David, man, nah, I don't think so, man. I don't think so. I don't think we can do that. I think there are certain people that are just special people. And I think we can do good things, but I don't think we can do something like what Mike Tuttle's done. And you know what I did to myself mentally, sitting on the same seat, front seat with him? Okay, I mentally terminated my upline. I said, okay. I didn't even respond. I just said, okay, I terminated. I said, you're out, right? And so Jill and I went and we had opened our little office, and we kicked some butt, right? And we went after it. And I said, man, so you got to think big. We got to change our thinking and say, listen, this small thinking of like 0 recruits. I mean, I want to be a recruiter, but I'm not. Now we're going to fix how to do it and all that stuff. And by the way, I will coach anybody on here on how to do any of this. I mean, I'll do one-on-one, whatever. I'm just looking for some people that want to run that want to go out and get the double-digit recruiting. I don't care how long you've been here, no time, long time, doesn't matter. And then double-digit recruiting, and let's go 20K a month. Well, look, what we are going to do is we're going to show Primerica how to build leadership, right? Not throw crap against the wall, okay, and see what sticks. Let's show Primerica, because let me tell you, this hierarchy, okay, is one of the best fundamental hierarchies in the whole company. I will put our leadership up against anybody, right? Doing 50, 60 million a month in investments. I mean, one of the most balanced hierarchies. So we recruit, we build, we got new people getting rings and all this stuff, okay? But what we're going to do now is turn up the volume, right? And we got some slack in the road. We're going to get the slack out and go make this happen. So our goal is to, we want to identify a group of double-digit recruiters, okay? Whether you're a future RVP, okay, or you've been here a long time, double-digit recruiting, because we know that double-digit recruiting is going to lead to a 20K base. A double-digit recruiting is going to lead to at least a 20K, 30K base shop, and you're going to be promoting RVPs out of that base shop. We know that's what's going to happen, right? Because we know our numbers, okay? So now, okay, so this is what we're going to do now. Here's what we do now. Now we build. Now we build. Now, okay? And we're going to go to the convention. It's going to be a new era, whether it is for Primerica or not, but for our hierarchy, it's going to be a new era, right? I can promise you that, okay? There's going to be a new era, and we are going to, and because you know what? Where we are now, what I'm talking about here is my sweet spot, right? If I have a sweet spot, this is it. Recruiting, building leadership, building a hierarchy, right? And, you know, that's what we're going to do. You know, because one of the things that always fired me up was when Art said, he said, here in this business, you can develop a system whereby recruiting never stops. And the first time I heard that, guys, I'm telling you, I thought, okay, wait a minute. You could develop a system whereby recruiting never stops. I mean, I used to lay up in bed at night and think about that. I said, my gosh, that would be unbelievable to have a system whereby recruiting never stops. And you know, the amazing thing is it works. In year 2000, Jill and I went over $1 million a year in income. You know, so that was 22 years ago. We hit $1 million a year. And I had Rose pulled up yesterday. Rose has been with me 35 years. She's amazing. And Rose pulled up for me yesterday. The last 10 years, right? I've hired the last 10 years. Now, this isn't per year. Okay. This is sad. No, it's really good. Okay. The last 10 years, I've recruited 34 people personally, right? Okay. 34. Okay. I have made a total, with my name on the application, a total of 20 term sales over the last decade. Okay. And so the thing about it is, that's what we want to do. We want to get whoever wants to be an RVP to RVP. And then if you're an RVP, we want to help you promote RVPs. So anyway, so I'm getting ready to bring Jill up here in a minute, but let me say this, okay? Now, a lot of financial people, a lot of financial professionals out there in the market, you know, they dress pretty and all that stuff. Okay. And they may have the right things after their name or whatever, the, you know, CFP, certified financial planner and all that crap. Okay. But most of them are just whole life agents, you know, undercover whole life agents. Okay. But, you know, a lot of financial companies, a lot of financial people in the business. Okay. by the way, I don't know if I've said this, I've said it before, but probably one of the most corrupt business industries in North America to me is the financial business, right? And just some of the stuff that they do and playing games with people's money is not right. But anyway, but they want you to think that they came out of the womb a professional, right? That there's just something special about them, which is not true, right? So we understand, and this is for newer people, that, you know, you got to be willing to be bad to get good, to get great, right? But let me tell you another thing, and this one thing's always encouraged me of what Art told us. He said, look, you don't have to be great to make it here. You got to be good, but you don't have to be great. You don't have to be a great recruiter. No, but you got to be good. And so that's what we're going to focus on, is just getting good. That was so encouraging to me when I heard that, because I could see some of these people. I mean, even today in Primerica, man, you know, there's people that, man, they get up there, man, my gosh, they're recruiting 300 people a month. They're probably not getting any license or very little. But anyway, but they're doing this and doing that. And that used to intimidate me. But you know what, you know, you don't have to be great, but we just got to get good at doing it. We got to get to, we do have to get to double digit. No way around that, right? If we're gonna get you to RVP and then promote RVPs, we got to get to double digit. It's just like me at the health club. I knew that I had to have so many members joining. Out of 600 members we had to have so many new members every month, right? Why? Why is that? Well, because of human nature, right? Again, it goes back to human nature. You can't get around it. I don't care what the company is, whether it's a grocery store down the street or Amazon. You know, you got human nature, okay? You know, and so, man, you got to be always looking for talent, okay? We're no different. So anyway, your business is no different, right? So, but before I bring up Jill, there's 3 things you got to decide how you're going to handle. If you say, okay, I'm gonna build this thing, especially if you're new. I think naturally the old timers have already conquered this a lot. You got to decide how you're going to handle 3 things. Number 1 is fear, right? You know, I saw the other day, fear can stand for one of 2 things, right? It can stand for either forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. And that's really what it comes down to. You can forget everything and run the other way. And that's what most people do with fear, right? Okay. And, you know, or you can face everything and rise. Okay. Number 2 is adversity. You got to decide what you're going to do with adversity. And the thing about it is, let me just ask you a question. If you make it here, if you were to go out, just ask yourself this, you know, while we're talking about it. If you were to go out and double digit recruit, right, and become a recruiter, if you were to go out and start doing that, okay, and then become an RVP and promote RVPs and all that stuff, what would happen to your life, right? Would good things happen? Because I already know, for the most part, if we were able to have a one-on-one conversation and I were to say, okay, look, why do you want to win here? And if we started talking about it, if you started talking about it, you know what it's about? It's not about you. Difference between a dream and a scheme. A scheme is about you, a dream is about others. And I guarantee you, a lot of the reasons that you want to go do it is for your family, your community, your charity, your church, whatever. It's about others. And if you talk about it long enough, you're going to have some Kleenex. Okay. So if the answer to that question is yeah, it would make a difference. Yeah. If I were able to go out there, become a VP, promote VPs, and do some things like that, it would really make a difference. And well, you know what that tells me is you better get ready for it, because all hell's going to break loose, right? all hell's going to break loose. I mean, you're going to have all kind of stuff coming against you, okay? Because you know what? I mean, here's a news flash. While you're in this tent, see this tent? We're all in this tent, this body. It's temporary, but while you're in it, you know, you're going to be at war. The bigger difference you try to make, the more obstacles you're going to face, right? And so it's not going to be easy. And but you know, the thing about it is, you got to face that. And rather than being, see, most people let adversity discourage them, and discouragement is probably one of the biggest tools the enemy uses to take you out. Is discouragement. Discouragement. I read it was a story one time about how the enemy, that's the most prized tool, because with discouragement can actually get into your heart, and it just breaks your heart. Okay. And so anyway, you know, the thing about it is you just gotta realize what's happening when those challenges happen. And so adversity, and rather than being discouraged by it, get excited about it. Say, man, I must be getting close. I must be getting, it's getting warm in here. Okay. It's getting hot in here. It's getting hot around here. I must be getting close to a breakthrough. Okay. And, you know, and you know, the thing I told Kelly's people this the other day on the coast, it hit me the other day. You know what, folks, you're important. Your generation is important. You know, you only got about really maximum 4 generations living at one time, right? Only 4. Most of the times there's 3 generations living at one time. But so anyway, your generation is important. What are you doing to help your generation, the generations behind you, the generations coming up in front of you, right? So our generation, what we do is important, okay? The third thing, you got to decide how you're going to handle the critics, okay? There's 2 types of critics, those who love you and those who don't, right? You know, those who don't love you, let them become your motivation, right? Okay. And those critics who do love you, okay, you know what you got to do? You got to earn their respect. You know how you earn respect? Is work ethic, right? Okay. If you go put yourself through it, you earn respect by putting Jill, whenever I say this next thing, put your hand to the plow. Jill always like, David, what are you talking about, your hand to the plow? Well, you know what, if you were raised in the country like I was, and see my papaw, see, most of you have never put your hand to the literal plow. I actually have, right? I was knee high to a grasshopper, but my papaw had Red the mule, right? And my dad would plow with Red, and he'd let me walk in front of it, put my hand to the plow. But the thing about it is, you put your hand to the plow and you go kick some butt, right? And why are you doing it? You're doing it because of your goals and your dreams. And the thing about it is, here's what I found, you know, on work ethic, you know, either you put yourself through it, right? Either you put yourself through hell or life will. Your choice. Which one you want? And I decided a long time ago, look, if I got to go through it, I'd rather be tough on me rather than life being tough on me, right? Like right now, when something breaks, fix it. I don't have to think about it, right? It's a lot easier price to go out there and handle the situation rather than lay it up in bed and worried about finances. Hell, money's not worth worrying over, right? Man, it's a better life just going out there and solving a problem. Okay, go out there and get after it. You have to, you know, to handle the critics, you have to build a mental toughness, right? You got to flip that switch. The harder it gets, harder I try, right? And anyway, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring up Jill, and then I'm going to come back, and I've got seven 7 keys that that I think will help us. And then this is all going to set us up for our session in about 3 weeks, where we're going to really dive into the mechanics of recruiting. So here's Jill.
Hey guys, I just want to say thanks for having me, and happy Mother's Day to any mothers out there, and happy Saturday, actually. David kept going over his notes with me, and I kept chiming in and giving my opinion, as I often do. And he finally just said, Jill, why don't you just do part of this? Why don't you just get up and tell him all the stuff you're thinking, rather than, you know, telling me and getting me to write it down. So I saw this the other day. It caught my attention. This, I guess, a quote, I'm not sure who said it, said, being successful doesn't necessarily make you great. What makes you great is when you reach back and help somebody else become great. That is the essence of recruiting. That's the goal of recruiting, is reaching back, finding somebody. Once you figured out how to do what we do and you get good at it, you need to start reaching back and helping people do that. So this recruiting clinic, I'm really excited about, because it is a big deal. You know, we're going to commit 3 parts, I think, to doing the recruiting clinic. You know, we've always heard, Art used to say, that's the lifeblood of our business. If you want a healthy business, you've got to keep an eye on your recruiting numbers. You recruit to build a team. I know that goes without saying. I know most of you people on here know that. But really, you recruit to build a team. You build a team to grow a hierarchy. And I've watched a lot of people on our team that are growing and are starting to promote. Maybe, you know, they've gotten to RVP, maybe they promoted their first RVP, and it's beginning to click with them, this growing a hierarchy. And I think we tend to think of a hierarchy as this enormous, you know, I think of it as this big geometric configuration, you know, that you try to wrap your head around. What's a hierarchy? Really, a hierarchy is simply you going out there, getting to RVP and promoting 7 to 10 first. Because your first generation RVPs are like children. You have 7 to 10 children, you know what you're going to have? Grandkids, right? It's just going to happen. You can't stop it. Your job is not to produce the grandkids. Your job is to hire somebody, train them, teach them what you know, help them get to RVP. And that's really having that child. And then that child's going to produce more. And that is how you grow a hierarchy. I think this should come with a warning. I think I've given this warning before, but, you know, people are messy. I used to think pastors had the dream job. I thought they walk around all the time. They think spiritual thoughts. They pray and read their Bible and prepare for 1 hour a week. But, you know, they're in the people business. And the people business can be frustrating. People are frustrating. They can be aggravating. They can even be annoying. And I think everybody on here probably knows that. But you know what? They're the most rewarding part of our business, whether it's a new recruit you're talking about or a new client that you're working with. There's no greater reward here. This is what I know after, you know, 43 years in Primerica, in AOM/Primerica. There's no greater reward than to watch somebody come in here green that you bring in, right? And you watch them fight. You watch them face fear. You watch them grow. You watch them overcome. You watch them get knocked down, and you sit and wait and wonder, man, are they going to quit? Or are they going to get back up? And they get back up. They get up stronger. They go full time. They fine tune. Next thing you know, you're promoting them to RVP. And the reason everybody's crying on stage is because everybody knows the price that they paid and everybody's excited. It's a very emotional experience. I have been working on looking at the numbers for convention. And I just kind of had a breakdown the other day. I was looking at personal cash of our team. And I was looking at just the top 25. Number 25 is over 300,000. And I was looking at these names. I was thinking, wow, look at the elephant fly. It's the best feeling. You know, number 25 is Kelly and Rochelle Case, who we just did a meeting for. I was going to talk about that in a minute. But man, that's a great reward, guys. That's a great reward, knowing David and I had something to do with that. You know, I think you've got to accept in recruiting that we are looking for people that are looking for us. You know, I think sometimes we forget that. We're looking for people who are looking for us. And there's an expression, I don't really necessarily like to use it, but it says you can't teach a pig to sing. Y'all have all heard that, right? It frustrates you and it annoys the pig. People that don't make it here aren't pigs. That's what I don't like about that expression. But guys, there are people that need a boss. I've seen them. We've hired them. We used to have a meeting, actually this meeting space, this office had a room that we had for cubicles. We had about 10 or 15 cubicles. And I watched these people come in, spend half the day reading the paper, drinking coffee, hiding, really hiding. They weren't working, right? I mean, there are people that need a boss. But let me tell you something. There are people out there that are looking for exactly who we are and what we have to offer. And all they really want is an opportunity. When David saw this, he went for it. And it really is hard to say the wrong thing to the right person. I think that the fundamental challenge is we just don't talk to enough people. We just don't talk to enough people, and we prejudge people. So we've got to stop prejudging people. We've got to talk to more people. Another thing I think that was tough for me, and I just see this looking in the rearview mirror, I thought when people didn't make it, it was our fault. Took it personally. Man, what could I have done different? And I think there's something to be said for always getting better, always doing your best, trying harder. But this unrealistic expectation. And I can't tell you the people that we hear from regularly, particularly David more than me, that say, man, I'm often, I'm no longer with you. I haven't talked to you in 10, 15, 20 years, whatever the case is. But they've gone on to a different career and they reach back just to tell David how much they appreciate what they learned from him and how they're using it. You never know. You never know if you're in that person's life for a season. And I just think you've got to be the best example you can be and leave the rest, really to the Lord. I mean, the lady, I use this example all the time because it's when I really accepted. The lady walked up, she was a manager at Cracker Barrel, right? And she walked up to us, she said, I used to work with you guys. She said, I know you don't remember me because I never did anything. And when she said that, she started crying. And I immediately, in my little fast processor brain, I thought, oh Lord, what did we do? What did we do wrong? Where did we drop the ball? She said, I just had to come over here and tell y'all that because of what I learned, my husband and I are debt-free for the first time in our life, and we're saving money every month. And I just had to come tell y'all. I mean, she came here for an education, So we just got to get the word out there. We've got to become great recruiters, not good recruiters. And, David already talked about double digits when your team recruits 10 or more a month. And it is, I don't know why, but it is where the magic happens. It creates a synergy and a momentum because I believe my theory is it creates competition. If you hire one person, you spend 3 months training them. You might have a really well-trained person, but if you hire 10 people at the same time, and man, this person closed a sale, and then they hear, man, they hired somebody and this happened and that happened. There's a competition that happens. And that competition will drive your team more than I think the best training classes you could ever have, spark that competition. One thing I've asked David to do, I think we're going to do it in part 2, is talk about prospecting, because obviously that's the precursor to recruiting. David, and I know, y'all know I'm a fan, right? I mean, we've been married 43 years and I could kill him every once in a while, but he is the best natural prospector. He does it now when he doesn't need to. We will take a trip and I'm telling y'all, he comes home with 3 cards, 3 names. I'm like, David, what are you going to do with these names? I mean, really, are you going to do anything with this? But he just so naturally, I mean, somebody can be waiting on us to do a good job. He just asks them a question. Next thing I know, they're giving him their name and number. It's crazy. You got to become a great prospector. You've got to know how to expand your business. My big point for today, I don't know if it's my big point or not, because I think there's something to be said for recruiting, but I feel like I never was really good at recruiting, okay? Actually, I did hire our first RVP. I see Gary Baxter's smiling face on here. The guy that hired Gary Baxter came in our office and I was sitting up front. And while I was talking to him, David was finishing up an interview and he told everybody for years, he said, David didn't hire me, Jill did. I just was sitting there small talking with him in our office on the Mississippi Gulf Coast in probably 1980 or 1981. So, okay, maybe I can recruit more than I think I can. But what I want you to think about today as we move into, today and then the next 2 sessions is retention. Because you work hard to get a recruit. How do you keep a recruit? And there are amazing systems out there. I mean, we've got people on our team that are very analytical, that have incredible systems that work very well in today's Primerica, because you got to get somebody in, right? You got to get them licensed. That's not easy. You got to get them trained. You have to get them making money. You've got to get them where they can go out and close a sale and recruit somebody on their own. And once that happens, you know, it's all over with. But you have to have a system. That's that analytical side. But the emotional side for me is building relationships. You've got to get to know people. They've got to get to know you. Your team needs to get to know each other. You know, we started, the first time I remember having people over, having our team over, we lived at Racket Club Apartments in Gulfport, Mississippi. And we had, I talk about my sofa that glowed in the dark. We had this green colored sofa. We didn't have great furniture at all. Of course, this is back in the days of turntables. We had a great sound system. Our priorities in order, right? David had made our coffee tables made out of like bricks and a piece of cedar, which I thought was really cool at the time. But I mean, it's just, you know, handmade furniture, whatever. But we would have people over and start building relationships. And it might be, like I said, it might be, you know, a 2-liter soda and a bag of chips or whatever. But I eventually got to the point I wanted all my entertaining to be perfect. Everything had to be perfect. You know, everything's got to be right when people come in. I've got to have the best charcuterie and the, you know, good china and all this stuff. And I've read this book recently by Chris Bill, who I admire very much. She's the co-founder of Blackberry Farm, probably my favorite place to vacation on the planet. I think it's the #1, or at least it used to be the #1 small hotel in North America. But this is one of her quotes. She said that she got into that. You've got to be perfect when you have people over. Because let me tell you something, you got to build a relationship with your team. And to do that, you need to open your door. You need to break bread. She said, she says she's decided now, after all these years and being into perfection, a good enough host is authentic to who they are and what they have to offer. Whether it's pizza or a full sit-down dinner, a good enough host cares most about the gathering, about being warm, honest, fun, and welcoming. Guys, that really is building relationships in a nutshell. You know, Mike and Amy, I'm always really humbled when Amy talks about Mike and Amy got married. He was coming into business and they moved in with us for a very short period of time. It wasn't very long. And she will get up in her talks a lot of times and say, I watched Jill and Dave in their life and I wanted that. And I was always kind of like, it confused me a little bit. And I remember I've asked Amy a lot, we've talked about it. What was it that you saw? And she will just go through, you know, just Dave and I loving each other, us loving our children. I mean, things that, you know, I didn't set out and say, I'm going to do X, Y, Z to convince Amy that we're good people. We just lived our life. And guys, that comes down to looking in the mirror. You know, are you the kind of person that when you spend time with people and they look behind the curtain, what do they see? None of us are perfect. None of us will ever be perfect, but we've got to be good examples. And, you know, don't manipulate, don't deceive, be authentic, just be real. Just be real. And let your guard down with people and get to know people. I cannot tell you the things we did to build relationships, the money we spent, the time, the energy, trips, contests, dinners, picnics, events, galas, you name it. And we had some disasters. I mean, I remember this one. We had a van. I think we owned this van and we ran a contest. We had 8 people who were taken to the Smoky Mountains. And I see Gary on there again. Gary had a guy under him named Cliff, whose dad had a place in the mountains he was going to sell. We wanted to go look at it. So we thought, you know what, we'll run a contest. We'll take these people. We'll go stay at Cliff's dad's mountain home up in the Smokies, right? Well, we get there, we're planning on sleeping there, and there's no furniture. There's no furniture. And in the middle of the night, this is one of those trips, okay, that we all laughed so hard we cried, laying on the floor. And David, I remember David telling them, y'all are the winners. Imagine what happened to the losers, right? So we take the winners of this trip, we take them off to this chalet that has no furniture. I don't think it had heat. I don't think it had running water. We had to bring in a water hose to fill up the back of the toilet to use the bathroom. So anyway, we ended up leaving and we ended up renting a chalet and going to this place and made it up to these guys. But man, we knew those people. And we left that trip, buddy, we had relationships built. You know, we've done that. We've taken people to Blackberry Farm. I mean, one of the nicest things you can do. I think Canada, you can look at Canada. I can't even keep up with how many offices we have now in Canada, probably 70, more than 70 RVPs. There's a case to be built that was built at Talisman Resort. In the very early days, in the infancy of the first little nuclear team, we went to this place called Talisman. I know Tommy, I see Tommy on there. He's going to remember going as a child. We would go, and y'all, these crazy, first time I went to Canada, I thought, I've never been to Canada. What are Canadians going to think about this Mississippi girl, right? Y'all, they're the most fun, loving, crazy people. We went up to Talisman and we do things. They did these group things out by the pool. Like they put guys in the pool in an inner tube. And they put people beside the pool with a fishing pole and tied a donut on it. And then the contest was to see who could eat the donut off the fishing line. I mean, just, it was some crazy stuff that they did. And we had, just different things, but relationships were built. The team was built in Canada. Kelly Case, we just went last weekend. David talked about it and I did too. We went down and man, I was just so excited to go down and see Kelly's team. I think it was on Friday night. They went out on the beach, had a bonfire on the beach and had a dinner. And then they had done some stuff on Saturday. We came in Saturday afternoon for a reception that was out on this really beautiful balcony looking out over the beach and the ocean. And they had a little Q&A and they left that Q&A and did a dinner cruise. Okay. So this is his team, his RVP team, his leadership team. And man, I'm just telling you, I told Kelly's going to go from 300,000 to $1 million because he's building a hierarchy, he's building relationships and things like that. This is what I know. Things like that are exhausting. They can be really expensive, but they're exciting and they explode your business. But more than that, guys, they enrich your lives because you connect. And when your team gets connected like that and everybody gets a vision and gets on the same page, that is where you want to go. That's why you recruit, guys. You recruit to build a team. You build a team to build a hierarchy. And that really is amazing. We came home. I got to tell you a funny story. David and I in the pandemic, we made what I call a pandemic panic purchase. That was our PPP plan. Okay. We bought a Mercedes Airstream Interstate Lounger. Okay. And it's finished out by Airstream. It's really pretty. It's got a bed. It's got a little kitchen. It's got a bathroom. It's got solar panels on the roof. So we were like, okay, worst case, we could take 100 pounds of rice, live off the grid somewhere in a field, right? So we drove that. We took that to the coast just for fun. And we're driving back. We've left Kelly's deal. And we decided to drive through Paul B. Johnson State Park. Okay, one of the places we used to have retreats in the early days was Paul B. Johnson State Park. And let me tell you something, it is nothing fancy. It has a women's dorm that has metal bunk beds and one big bathroom. It's got a men's dorm. And then there's a room in the middle with a fireplace. And we drove and found it. And it was so emotional because I remember there's a pavilion where we would have talent night, have skits and talent. We had amazing talent. We'd have field days. And I stood there because this place looks closed. And I just stood there and all the memories were so, and I thought, wow, I'm so thankful we did all of that. And, what David and I were talking about, guys, the pandemic is over. We got to get out there. We got to live our life and we got to get involved with people. You got to open your home and say, hey, go hire 2 or 3 people, have them over, get a vision, get a goal for where you're headed. Recruiting is the lifeblood of our business. It's what makes your business grow. It's what helps you become financially independent. It's helping those people become financially independent. It's win-win. I wish you the best. I'll see you next time we do a recruiting clinic because I'm sure I'll have something to say. Here's Dave.
Okay, Jill. Man, that's great. Yeah, man, we could live off the grid in that that coach. So yeah, that was great. And and again, the pandemic is over, and I think the thing thinking about recruiting and our strategy going forward, I mean, what's great is we need to get with people. Right. I mean, there's only so far that a relationship can go on Zoom. Okay. I mean, a Zoom is great and all that, but, and what's so amazing is, especially on the front end, as far as exposing people to the business and, getting them started, it doesn't, we can, it blurs the lines of state lines and all that. Okay, so you recruit anywhere. I think about the Chris to Louis out in Dallas, Texas. So Chris goes out. By the way, I think he was number two base shop in the hierarchy last month. I mean, Chris just exploding. And but anyway, so Chris goes and hires a key person up in Utah, right? I don't think he's ever been to Utah. Okay, so he goes out there, recruits in Utah. So next thing you know, I noticed last week or week before last on Facebook, here's Chris headed to Utah, right? So he went up there, spent a week, and he told me day before yesterday, he said, man, David, we did about 12,000 in premium, 6 recruits. He said, I think we'll double it this month. But, you know, so he's using Zoom, right? But then going and putting that relationship with it, right? That's what we got to do. And we don't need to leave that off. You know, but so anyway, you know, a couple of quotes here. Who you are today, who you are tomorrow begins with what you do today, right? Who you are tomorrow begins with what you do today. And that's what we want to do now. We're going to start a movement and of growth and leadership and all that. You know, I mentioned earlier, right before Jill came on, fear. And two quotes I saw this morning. Dale Carnegie said, if you want to conquer fear, do not sit at home and think about it. Go out and get busy. And man, that is so true. Clement Stone, right? Thinking will not overcome fear, but action will, right? Just take action. Just get moving. Okay, so now let's talk. I got seven points. Some of these are faster than others, but anyway, but we're on time. And as soon as I get through with this, we're gonna shut it down. And hey, by the way, what I would like to know is, you know, and you can email me or whatever, and or you can text me a question or whatever. But over the next few weeks till we get through with this, we may not actually finish till after the convention or whatever with these, because I know it's going to take 2. I think it's going to take 3 sessions to do this, because I want to do it justice. But what are your questions about recruiting as we go through this? Okay, any questions or challenges you're having with recruiting or building or whatever? Let me know that, and we'll try to address it, because if you're struggling with it, others may be also. Okay, so as far as a game plan, and I'm going to kind of brush with some broad strokes here, but one of the game plans I've already talked about, that, you know, the numbers haven't changed. Okay, so I'm gonna, some of this will be talking about when I first came in, what we did. Okay, but before I joined the company, you know, that fast start school that I went to before they rejected me, before they turned me down and wouldn't recruit me. But Art showed us, number one is Art showed us a vehicle and a system. Okay, Art showed us a vehicle and a system, and it wasn't complicated. Okay, in other words, I remember thinking, man, I can do that. I can do that. Art had a simple presentation. I'm going to talk more about that in a second, but Art had a simple presentation. And you know what, it's amazing. It was to the point that fast start school. So here I was, not even in the company. And so Art shows us a presentation, and you know what he tells us to do? He said, okay, I want y'all to pair up now, okay, to the person next to you. And I want y'all, we're going to take 30 minutes, and I want y'all to give a presentation to each other. And I thought, my gosh, I'm not even in the company. And here I am, I'm going through a presentation, right? And, but he said, you got 15 minutes, bam. So here's, next thing you know, you're going through a presentation with your next door neighbor that you may not even know, right? And then they'd stop us 15 minutes, bam. Okay, now the other one, you do it. But anyway, I was thinking by the time I left that school, I thought, man, I can do this, right? And so the message is your system needs to be simple. You're right. It needs to be doable. And so, you know, I see these people with these complicated systems, and it's just, I mean, most people think, man, my gosh, I don't know if I can get that good, right? And so, that's number one. Number two, Art got us to set some goals. He handed us a goal sheet that looked something like this, right? It had 5 short-term goals, 5 long-term goals, right? A short-term goal with something you want to accomplish the next 3 to 6 months. And then over the next 1 to 5 years, set 5 goals, right? By the way, what happened, and let me tell you, at that, he handed us the goal sheets, and you know what we did? He had us at that event write down what our goals were. Okay, so he showed us a system. He got us to set some goals, and you know what, y'all? That was these goals, right? That was the first time I had ever written down a goal in my life, right? Okay, and you know, man, that's one of the best things we can do for new people. We bring somebody in the business, give them a goal sheet. Say, okay, look, you know, let's set some goals, okay? And then maybe you take a picture of their goals, right, on your phone or whatever, and that way you can help remind them of their goals and you know why they're doing it. Well, what happens, guys, when you have a vehicle, okay, and then you've got goals and you can connect the dots there? That's what happened to me. I said, okay, look, I've set some goals. I wanted to bring home Jill home from the bank because she hated her job. So that was one of my goals. I want to be able to make 30K a year. I want to be able to buy a home one day. Okay. And so all of a sudden, when I realized, you know what, I've got a system here. I have now set some goals. Okay. And what that did is that connected the dots for me. And that's, to me, that's when the magic happens with a recruit, because when you've got a system and you've got goals, okay, then what, you know what that equals? You know what it equals? It equals commitment, right? People start to say, man, I'm going to do this. Okay. So system plus goals that connects the dots, right, equals commitments. And you know what? Commitments, commitment comes in layers. You know, I didn't come in, I mean, my goal was to make 30K a year, but it's kind of like peeling an onion off, right? Then all of a sudden you start to think bigger and bigger and bigger, and just one layer at a time, that commitment. And you know, as you really start moving forward, you said, man, I just thought I was committed earlier. Now I'm really committed. My gosh, I'm gonna be a district. I didn't want to become an RVP. I didn't think I could handle RVP when I first came in at that event. But actually, he had us go ahead and set a goal. He said, okay, when are you going to be an RVP? I put down like 19 months later. You know what happened? I made it in 18 months. Okay. So he showed me a system. He got me to set some goals that equaled commitment. And then anyway, so that's a key thing. That's number 2. Number 3, okay, become a copy worth duplicating, like on the presentation side, okay? And let me say this, that, you know, what you want to do is you want to have a presentation. It needs to be transferable. It really doesn't matter what presentation you use, right? I mean, to me, the simpler, the better. But any presentation, because you know what? Let me tell you the key to a presentation. The key to a presentation is go and give it 30 times. You can take, I remember when we finally came out, the company came out with a flip chart. I remember thinking, man, I got so good at that. Then they came out with a new one. And I thought, man, Lord, this is going to be a disaster, right? But then I went out and did it. Then I liked it better than the other one. You know how many presentations I've had in all these decades? I mean, I can't even count them. No way to count them. There's all kinds of presentations, doesn't matter. But just get one, stick with it, and just get, you know, the more you do it, the better you're going to get at doing it. Now, how you get good at doing it is go dig, you know, like a new recruit, go through it 100 times, go 200 times, right? Now, here's what I did, okay, is I said, look, I'm going to give the presentation at least one time a day, okay? And if I, you know, worst case, I'll do it in front of a mirror, right? And what I used to do, I would, every day I'd go through the presentation, every day. I'd do it in front of the mirror, the dog, the cat, Jill. I mean, Mike the other day on Larry Waddell's deal said that I sat down with him when he was 17 and made him listen to one, right? So anyway, but you know what I thought about? I thought about this every day. I said, man, you know what? I want to get this down because this, if I do this, this could be the last thing I ever have to get good at. This could be it. This could be the last thing I ever have to get good at in my life, okay, from a career standpoint. And that's how seriously I took it. And see, I see most people in Primerica, man, just kind of playing around with this stuff. It's kind of a spare time deal. But you understand, that's human nature. You ain't going to change that, right? Now, all you can do is, like Jill said, you can build a relationship, let people know you love them, you care about them, be there for them. But most people are going to get distracted. But you know what? You have that 1 in 50. I don't know what the numbers are. You have that, you know, 10% that are serious. Okay. And, but as a matter of fact, how serious I took it, you know, I practiced a presentation so much, about probably my third month in the business. Jill woke me up one morning about 6 o'clock in the morning. And she said, David, wake up, man. She said, you have just given an entire presentation in your sleep, right? And it kind of freaked me out a little bit. I said, my gosh, man, I went through a whole presentation. She said, I talked for like 20 minutes, right? Okay, man. But again, this could be the last thing I ever have to get good at. And then I'm done. Man, what if we took it that serious, right? And that's number 3. Number 4, Art said, okay, you got to be willing to do what average and ordinary people aren't willing to do. This was a game changer right here. Changed it. As a matter of fact, I don't, if had this not have happened, I don't think I would be here right now. I literally don't think I would. That's how important this is. Okay. I had been in about 6 weeks, 7 weeks, maybe. I had just gotten licensed, and Hattiesburg had a training class. There were maybe 8 to 10 of us in there. It is one evening. And at the end of the class, you know, because I'd heard Art Williams say at that event I went to before I joined, that you got to be willing to do what most people aren't willing to do, right? What average ordinary people aren't willing to do. Okay. And so at the end of the class, before people, you know, people stand around, drink coffee, whatever. And so there's maybe 6, 8 people there still left. And so I was able to catch like maybe 6 of them before they left. And I just, for some reason, I said, I'm just going to ask these people a question, right? Because I was brand new. I said, look, let me ask you a question. How many people did you present the business to last week? And what I started hearing was a pattern of, you know what they said? They said, well, one guy said, well, I had 0, 1, 3, 4, 0, 2, 1. And you know what? All of a sudden on the movie screen of my brain, I said, okay, that's the difference. That's the difference. That's that most people aren't willing to do. You know, people that win, they're willing to do what most people aren't willing to do. And I said, that's the secret. Dude, most people will just not go present. And can I tell you another thing? That has not changed in all these decades, right? It hasn't changed a bit. Same numbers. I guarantee you, you talk to anybody in your office, How many people did you present to last week? 3, 0, 1, 3, 2. Hadn't changed. It hadn't changed. And so I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to let that become my thing. Because that telephone weighed 500 pounds to me too, right? But I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be willing to do that. And I know the more you do it, the easier it gets. That's what Art Williams said. He said, the more you do it, the easier it gets. So I just started pounding the phone. I started picking up the phone, even though I was nervous, afraid, like Jill would say. I'd go back in the bedroom and I'd sit there and she wouldn't hear anything for 40 minutes. I'd be trying to get up the nerve or what am I going to say to this guy? What am I going to say? But every time I picked up the phone, it dropped a few pounds, right? And I just internalized that and stayed coachable. I had to get with my field trainer every once in a while and say, what am I saying wrong? I'm not getting good results or whatever. Of course, now with the digital tools and the text and all that, I mean, social media, whatever, direct message people, whatever, to me, it's even easier, right? To be able to do that. But all of a sudden I started, and here's what I did. I said, listen, I'm going to schedule activity. I'm going to schedule next week, this week. I never scheduled appointments for this week. I always worked a week ahead because people's calendars were open next week. And also people are procrastinating. So they'll agree to anything they don't have to do today. Right. And I'm the same way. So I don't want to go see them now, but I'll go see them next week. So I said, okay, hey, Joe, this is David. How's everything going? Listen, I'm still at the health club, still in college. Jill and I are fine. But look, I'm looking at going a different direction, right? And I'd like to get with you next week, have a cup of coffee. I'd like to kind of show you where I'm headed, okay? And I'd like to get your opinion on it. I value your opinion. I appreciate you. And listen, this is something you probably won't be interested in. You may not be interested in. And so I kept everything indirect. To me, an indirect appointment is the easiest thing to set. You may not be interested, right? But you might know someone who may be, right? Nothing may come from this, but you never can tell, right? I like just catch up. Let's get together, have a cup of coffee. What business is this? What business are you going to? Well, I'm going into the money business, financial business. And again, though, I know you may not be interested. You might run into somebody, Joe, in 2 weeks, you could send my direction if it comes to it. How's that sound? And let me tell you, if you use that approach, an indirect approach, if a person won't see you, I mean, to me, you know what? I don't know. To me, it says something, but to me, that we're not as tight as I thought we were. I'll just leave it at that. And that's a good thing to know. There are people I thought I was pretty tight with that, they wouldn't see me. I hadn't seen them in 40 years, right? So to each his own. So we'll compare notes later. But anyway, again, the harder it gets, the harder you try. And so anyway, that's how we did it. We did it indirect. More you do, the easier it gets. You see, what you've got to do is you've got to let people know that you're an option in any business. If you're in a construction, restaurant, clothing, financial, you're letting people know that you're an option. And then the other thing is, when I get with Joe, what do? I present the Primerica buffet, right? I mean, guys, let me tell you, let me just go through it. Okay, so I get with Joe now. Hey, Joe, listen, I'm gonna talk to you about kind of who we are and where we're going and all that stuff. But listen, I'm looking for three things. Number one is, I'm going to go through this. I know I told you on the phone or whatever, or through the text, you may not be interested in whatever, but we are looking for clients. If we can help a person save money, cut costs, get more value, then, we are looking for clients. okay? If we can help them. You know, we're good at using old money that's already going out, and just showing people how to better redirect it, right? Especially today, that's important with gas and inflation and everything else, okay? So anyway, so I'm going to go through what we do. But the other thing, we're a growth company and we're looking for leadership. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. We're a growth company. We're looking for leadership. I'm going in more on the leadership side of the company. And then the third thing is, like I told you on the phone, even if you aren't interested, you may be able to keep your eyes open for me. We're looking for recommendations, right? Of maybe other people, you know, that might be interested. And then just do that, and then get with people and do that. You know, have that approach. Number 5, okay? Okay, so number 5 is, I titled this, I'm fixing to explain it, Recruit, Train, and Motivate, okay? My third month in the business, okay, so I started doing that. I said, okay, that's gonna become my thing. I'm gonna schedule activity. I'm just gonna schedule activity. I'm gonna, you know, just spend, you know, my time scheduling and then just doing the work when it came up, okay? And so anyway, what happened was, about my third month, I was doing about 8, I was telling my story, and that's what you got to come up with a standard. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. I came up with a standard. I said, okay, look, I'm going to tell my story 8 to 10 times a week. And the sooner I can get it over with, the better. As soon as I can get it over with, I'm going to take off, right? So I said, okay, Jill, look, man, if I hit it this week, if I can get it done by Friday, we're going to New Orleans, or we're going to dinner, or we're going to do this, we're going to whatever. And so we'd set a goal. I'd reward and punish. If I did good, I'd reward myself. If I didn't, I'd make myself work the weekend. Okay. So anyway, so 10 clients started doing business with me every month. So this was about my third month in the business. Okay. And then what happened was Art Williams came back to town. Art Williams came back to Jackson, and we had a meeting up here in Jackson. So I came up and to Jackson, and then Art Williams recognized, I think, 2 or 3 people at that event. Right, it was a daytime meeting at the office. There was about 60 people in the room, 60 of us, and so Art then recognized about 3 of us, and he gave me this T-shirt. Right. This is my first recognition that I ever got from the company. Is a red T-shirt with a proven leader on it. Right. Okay. And so that's my most prized. I know it's the ugliest T-shirt known to man. Right. But man, I wouldn't take anything for that T-shirt, because what that let me know is, oh my gosh, I'm on to something. My little game plan of just becoming a scheduling fanatic, right? It's separating me from everybody else. And I began to see the hell, man, here you can go out, and if you let that become your thing, right, that you get comfortable with, right, then man, heck, this company, they'll almost give you your own TV show. They'll make a hero out of you for doing that, right? But because why? Because most people they just don't have activity, right? And also what happens when you have activity, you get 10 times better because you're doing that, right? And you're having fun. It's not a price. It's an adventure, right? And so anyway, so because I got the T-shirt, the next month, the company had the 2nd national convention in the company's history at Sea Island, Georgia. And that Jill was still negative during this time, right? So that next month, because I had done that, Art and them must have had an extra room that freed up for the convention. So they said, David, you come and we'll put you up at Sea Island, Georgia, you and Jill. So we went to Sea Island, Georgia, and that's where Jill went to the first partner meeting with Angela Williams. And that's when she said, let's roll. And so we both came home, quit our jobs. I mean, she quit the bank, I quit the health club. We opened our first office after our 4th month, right? And okay, so anyway, by my 5th month, about 5 months later, my RVP, his name was Bill Anderton, right? He lived up here in Jackson. And Bill Anderton had invited Jill and I up to his home. He had several key leaders over to his home. He had a swimming pool for a summer cookout or whatever. And he invited Jill and I to spend the night with him, right? Him and Danny. So we spent the night. And so sitting out by the pool, everybody had left. And Bill Anderton and I were sitting out by the pool. He said, David, see what had happened, folks, I had become a copy worth duplicating at that point. Man, I had it. I became a copy worth duplicating I had a simple presentation. I could do it. I had done it. I'd practice it. I'd said it in my sleep, right? And so Bill Anderson said, David, he said, look, I'm going to tell you something very important. He said, I want you to think about I want you to remember these 3 words, okay? And he said, and I want you to ask yourself 100 times a day, am I doing these 3 things? He said, and when you aren't able to answer, yes, I'm doing these 3 things, okay, all the time. He said, on the movie screen of your brain, okay, I want nuclear weapons, sirens, everything to go off on the movie screen of your brain. I want you to be able to see yourself getting out of this business. Because if you don't do what I'm getting ready to tell you, you aren't going to make it. Well, man, he had my attention. And he said, those 3 things is recruit, train, motivate. Now, what does that mean? Recruit, bring people into the business, good people into the business, okay? Train, teach them the business. So recruit them, teach them, okay? What about motivate? What does that mean? You know what, to me, it means, you motivate. What did I say earlier? What's one of the strongest things that creates environment in the business? Is personal example, right? So that's motivational. Getting them to an event is motivational. Training, classroom training, like now Zoom training, whatever is motivation. A competition, helping them make money. But really, another word I could put in there would be encourage. What does encourage mean? To come alongside people through thick or thin, let people know you love them, you care about them, and man, we're on the team, and we're gonna help you do this, right? And so anyway, now the other thing what that told me is, okay, David, it's time to really get a builder's mindset. It's time to get a builder's mindset. In other words, no more chasing transactions. No more chasing transactions. I got, by my 5th month, well, let me say this, probably by my 6th or 7th month, I got out of the transaction business. And you know what I did? I said, you know what I'm going to do? Now, some of you may have to phase out of this because you're so hooked on the transactions of personal activity, okay? So you got to get to double-digit recruiting is the only way this works, okay? I mean, what I'm explaining now. But I said, okay, the only way that I'm going to be able to go on an appointment is I've got to go recruit Joe, and then Joe's got to take me to see his brother, right? Now, we're going to talk about this next section. I think that'd be a great thing to talk about, is how to really do that and how to really train, how to field train, right? And what are some good strategies? I've got some good things on that, but no more chasing transactions. So basically what I would do is recruit Joe and then recruit and train, do transactions in Joe's market, because that way I was getting 2 birds with 1 stone. Well, really 3. Well, number one, I was teaching Joe the business. I was making him income, making me income, but we were helping his brother. Man, that is a win-win-win-win situation. Only loser there is our competition, right? And so anyway, and see, the thing about it is we got so many people that are so good, and man, they don't understand their value, obviously. I guess that's probably my fault or the RVP's fault, all of our fault, because they don't understand how valuable they are. They don't understand how valuable their time is. They are way too valuable to be, they work so much to be, they need to be pouring them they need to be mentoring and raising up other leaders. And so the bottom line is, let me say this, 2 months later, after I left Bill Anderson's house, 2 or 3 months later, Jill and I moved to the Gulf Coast. We didn't know anybody, right? Didn't know anybody. We hired 16 people our first month down there, 26 people our second month. One of those was Jim Hass, okay? I ran an ad on the Gulf Coast, hired a guy named David Marks first month. He brings his buddy on, Jim Hass, the second month. We hired Bill Lyles, we hired Gary Baxter on here. But so we brought on 42 people, okay, that first 60 days. And then 5 months later, we were doing 60 term apps a month, right? And then June of 81, 18 months after we came in, we were promoted to RVP. And then 3 months later, promoted Bill Lyles, our first RVP. 2 months later, Jim Hass went out, which tells the message is this. It's not about you getting to RVP. It's about you promoting RVPs. So let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and play through RVP right now, right? Let's go ahead and think, okay, who's going to be my first RVP? Who's going to be my first one? So number 6 is 6 point is be coachable. Be coachable. Everybody needs a coach because coaches see things you can't see, right? See, it's so easy. We get down in the weeds. We can't see the forest for the trees. And so coaches can be more objective, right? And say, hey, have you thought about doing this? It could be so clear what you're missing right now, okay? But you just got to have somebody to be able to say, you know what, have you thought about doing this? Here's another way of looking at it, okay? And so, folks, please be coachable. You know, that's why attendance, man, attendance. I mean, you don't know how bad you need something till after you get it. I mean, just like the convention, I mean, man, when there's a will, there's a way. I mean, whatever. I mean, if we got anybody that can't get there, let's have a conversation. Man, what have we got to do, right? I mean, it's too important for us to do that. But anyway, I just think that, and like I said earlier, man, I'll coach anybody on here. I mean, let's go. Let's go. It's a new beginning. It's a new era. We're going to show Primerica how to build leadership, right? How to build hierarchies, okay? And, Jill mentioned Kelly K. I guarantee Kelly K, man, he's fixing to go to $1 million a year. Man, Kelly made a commitment. He's going to build a hierarchy, man. He's not just focused on the base shop. They're building a hierarchy. Mike Landrum told me, I don't know how many years ago, 12 years ago, 14 years ago, whatever. Mike told me in Atlanta, Georgia, we were at the home office in Atlanta, Georgia, coming out, the company was rolling out the new comp. And he said, David, regardless of comp, I'm going to do I'm going to build a hierarchy. I'm going to build leaders of leaders, right? And that's what he and Amy did. And then bam, right? It's happened. So, and then number 7, the last thing is servant leadership. To me, this is all part of being a copy we're duplicating. We got to have this stuff in place. Then we think about, okay, now let's focus on, okay, what's the recruiting game plan now? How do we get to the double-digit recruiting? But you got to be a servant leader. I learned about that in the Army. I was a squad leader in basic training. They sent me to a leadership class, and they said, listen, there's 2 ways you can lead your squad. You tell people, you can watch over them, tell them to go clean the bathroom or whatever and watch them, or you can be the first one on your knees down there cleaning with them. And so I said, man, that's what I'm going to do. And man, I did that. And by the end of that 2 months, our squad, man, we were tight. We loved each other. We were all on the same team. It wasn't about lording over people. It was about serving them. And same thing with the health club, when the health, Sonny Farah, the head football coach, and Jones County, South Jones High School, asked me to be the men's manager at his health club. I said, Sonny, I've never managed a health club. I know how it worked out, but you know, I don't know about how. He said, man, you'll do great. He threw me in there. And I said, I'm just going to do the same thing I did in the Army. I'm just going to serve people. I had 600 members. And man, I said, man, I'm going to have the cleanest club. I'm going to be up there. I'm going to have the best smoothies. I had this special little recipe, right? My banana smoothie. And I said, I'm going to have great smoothies. I'm going to have this and that. And you know what? I just started loving on people. And you know what happened? People started bringing people, right? So here, okay, I joined Primerica, right? A.O. Williams. And then, so crap, I've never done this naturally. And then when I realized that, man, listen, they said, listen, David, now here's the guidelines on how to become a VP. You may not want to do it, right? But if you want to, and I said, well, and I had, and next thing you know, again, personal example creates environment, right? The next thing you know, Mike Ezel went to college. We used to commute back and forth from Southern, and Mike Ezel said, David, man, what are you doing? I mean, I was just pumped. I was excited because I said, man, I've gotten in this bit. He said, man, I may want to do that, right? Can you get me on? I said, well, heck yeah. And my first override for Mike Ezel was $43. When he called me up one night, he said, man, David, I just closed one. And I said, man, Mike, that's great. And I realized I made a $43 override. And all of a sudden I thought, well, you know what? I'm not that good at math, but I can multiply. Because what if I would have had 10, what if I'd had that happen 10 times tonight? That's $430, right, in overrides. And so anyway, but so you got to serve people, which really the way I see that is what? It's really loving people, caring about people. Now that may sound corny to a lot of business people, but let me tell you, the more you love people, the more you care about people, then what happens is, you know what two things that go along with that, loving and caring about people, is genuine and authentic, right? And let me tell you, you get with people, and I used to say this little prayer. I remember the first overview I ever did on the Gulf Coast. Jim Hass was in there. I think Bill Lyles was in there too, my first two RVPs. And the room was full. We had interviewed a lot of people. I was a nervous wreck. I felt like I was having a out-of-body experience. I said, I am going, because I had moved to the Gulf Coast, didn't know anybody. Jill was my secretary, unpaid, right? Leased an office for 2 years, leased office furniture. And there was about 30 people in the room. And I literally was in the bathroom seeking God. I was having a panic attack, right? And so I just remember praying. I said, God, you know, man, if there's somebody here, I can help, man. And I can't tell you how many times I'd say a little prayer before I'd go meet with an interview or a client. I said, man, if I can help them in some way, Lord, let me do it. That had to help me get my mind off me, right? And I did that more for me probably than them, but it helped me at least deflect, get my attention focused to where it needed to be. And, but anyway, and then, so what happens is when you do that, all of a sudden people pick up on that. People sense genuine. And if you're authentic, man, let me tell you, 5 minutes into it, you go in there and just get to know them a little bit. And they're thinking, man, this guy, he's a good guy. He just, man, they're going to think of a reason, think of a way to do business with you, right? you know, and so anyway, you know, I just think that, man, we have such a vehicle here that, you know, if we're willing to go out there, it really is a great adventure. It really is. I mean, you never know what's going to happen, but when you pour your life into people, you know, and a lot of times who you think may do it, may not. And that's why the thing about it is, as we talk about recruiting and we're going to really, again, get into the mechanics of it, but I can't say enough about the numbers. And, you know, we've got to get to the double digit, because the thing about it is, until we get to double digit, what happens is you're going to be looking for too much out of people. And it's going to put undue pressure on that recruit. And to me, it's not fair to them. You need to diversify your efforts. When you're bringing in 10 new people a month on your team, like if I had 10 new members join the health club, then it's just a good balance, right? Because you can send, there's only about 4 of those that are really going to want to go to work right now. The other ones, you're going to have a couple of people just want to sit in class and memorize everything, and that's great. And because the timing may not be right for them, but you know what? As long as sometimes you got to go on without people to come back to them later. I mean, if you got 10 people joining your company every month, one good VP can handle that. And as you build up other leaders and field trainers and all that, then you can grow that. And next thing you know, you're promoting RVPs. What time is it?
11.
Is it 11? Okay.
2.
Wow. I got 2 minutes. Wow. Okay. No, I'm kidding. Okay, guys. Well, hey, listen, man. I appreciate all of you, and anything I can do. Hey, listen, you email. Let me, David at dlandrum.com. Okay. That's my personal email. David, it's not naturally not Primerica. David at D, the letter D, Landrum, LANDRUM.com. And so shoot me an email. My cell phone, 601-502-3234. So 601-502-3234. Shoot me a text. Any questions, comments, feedback, whatever, something you want to know more about. I'm determined. We're gonna nail this thing down, right? And this may be one of the I don't want to say the last times I teach on this, because I want to live a long time. So anyway, so we'll just see what the Lord wills on that. But I do believe that we want to start a movement. We want to build RVPs, double-digit recruiters, RVPs, and hierarchies, right? Leaders of leaders, and help you accomplish, you know, whatever your goals are. So anyway, but yeah, so we'll build your suggestions and all into the next couple of times we do it. I'm thinking it's going to be about probably 3 weeks from now on a Saturday. We'll look at the date. We'll get that out in the next week or so. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get that out for session number 2. And look, if it takes more than that, we'll do 4, whatever. And then and we could even do an ongoing thing and have some other leaders on too that could kind of help focus on all this. So anyway, hope y'all have a great weekend. If you need anything, let me know. God bless y'all. We appreciate you. Thank you.